depends on where you find that a look at this.
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us. It's Daybreak on Trust Television. Time for us to take a look at the dailies on Daybreak. And we have Nelson Omono, the publisher, the Summit Post, here with us in the studio to review some of the stories with us on the front page. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Now let's start with the Daily Trust newspaper. The lead story on Daily Trust talks about the Naira design. It says grains prices crash days after record surge. You have the rider that says rush for grains subsides in major markets. Dollar bounces, sells at 770 Naira. Forex volatility may reduce investments, raise inflation, says experts. Above that, you'd find above the lead story, you'd find caution your spokesman. Abdul Salami committee tells presidential candidates on page 33. You have also, we need to deal with multiple forex markets. Inflation, says Buhari. Beside the pictorial, IPOP kills monarch chiefs in Imo. Why Obi can't win 2023 presidential election. Soludo. NBC finds Arise TV 2 million Naira over a fake report on Tinubu. You have at a footnote, military places 95 million Naira bounty on Turji, 18 others. Locals say terrorist whereabouts known. You'd find that on page 38. All right, that's that for the Daily Trust newspaper.
Now let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. It has a lead story that says 2023 polls. Soludo attacks Obi again, says ex-governor cannot win. The first rider says, negotiate with Tinubu Atiku, Soludo advises Southeast. Why I rejected Obi's offer to defect to PDP in 2017 poll, says Anambra governor. Soludo allowing himself to be used, Obi will win. This is coming from the Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council. And beneath that, we have a story that says, resist government control. Impan advises media practitioners, and there's a pictorial there of the top media owners in Nigeria. We also have Tinubu's victory setting, says Lalong, as campaign begins. Driver arrested for crushing Ekiti placement to death. Oil theft, federal government arraigns 16 foreigners, detains vessel. We also have, just by the masthead, half pay also says lecturers, intellectuals, not casual workers. We also have INEC office attacks worry UK. US opposes rigging. Military places 95 million Naira bounty on 19 bandits kingpins. Also on the Punch, organized private sector sets $9 trillion agenda for federal government. These are the major stories on the Punch newspaper.
All right, on the Nation newspaper this morning, the lead story says, Abdul Salami panel, rising violence threatens polls. Our politicians not ready to play by the rules, says INEC. Now, fake news, NBC finds Arise TV 2 million Naira. Why I invited Buhari, Obi, Kwankwaso, others by Wike. Poverty doubled under Obi, says Soludo. LP governor jealous. You would find also petrol subsidy not sustainable. Ipman insists, Oyo, Ogun, to end kidnapping on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. These are the stories on the Nation newspaper.
And onto the This Day newspaper, it has the lead story that said, the Economic Summit Group sets priorities for Atiku, Tinubu, Obi, Kwankwaso, others. And above that, this is coming from Lalong, history will repeat itself at just presidential flag off. Then we have Akwa Ibom, court sacks Udofia Akpabio as APC's Guba senatorial candidates. And above that, Soludo, I won't succumb to bullies. Obi knows he can't win. says he's making Tinubu's pathway to victory much easier, toying with Indigbo's destiny. These are the major stories on this day newspaper.
All right. Now let's just take a look at the headlines on the Vanguard. Vanguard leads with the story that says terrorism. DHQ declares Bello Turji, Ado Aliru, 17 others wanted, and that's for the Vanguard. On leadership, it says INEC audit reports indict APC, PDP, others for overspending. Then these are some of the major stories anyway. So let's get perspectives on these stories this morning. Like we told you, we have Nelson Amonu. Thank you again, Nelson, for joining us on Daybreak. All right, now let's start with the open letter, if you like, of the governor of Anambra State, Charles Soludo, yesterday to Peter Obi. Perhaps a follow-up to his initial remarks where he talks about Peter Obi's investment being inconsequential in Anambra State and all of that. What do you make of the that letter?
Well, thank you. Let's take it from where it all began. We are in an era that governors leave heavy debt for their successors. Apart from taking outright loans, they also go all the way to flood the civil service with lots of new appointees before they leave. That is like booby trap for the people that are coming to succeed them. So let's get this conversation straight. We are talking of a governor. There's a letter to that effect that has not been denied. As at the time he left, there was over $50 million investment, not naira, investment in a Fidelity Bank also. There's another $50 billion in another investment.
But you have in that letter, and the Charles Soludo saying, I mean, what's the point of saving money when you have schools that have no chairs, when you have roads that are bad, when you do not have enough health facilities, and the rest of them in a state?
You see, we all are not going to fall cheaply for what Obi has been saying is this. Government money can actually yield dividend for the states, and instead of going to the federal to be in cap in hand to begin to collect money every month, states can begin to look for how to invest state resources. Let's get it straight. Did he work or not? During his time, Anambra, so to speak, as at the time Obi came, I'm not defending him, but let's get this conversation straight. That as at the time Obi came, Anambra was among the fairly educationally disadvantaged states. He won several awards for education. Most of the, let me get this straight, that he performed very well in the area of education that you have just pointed out. It's not what Soludo is trying to point out is, he did not just maybe lodge money in a bank and leave the money there. It is an investment. So let's appreciate the fact that somebody, instead of course, with our system, it was possible for him to just walk away with.
Mr. Monu, but I think the conversation has gone a bit further.
Yes.
What Soludo is saying at this point, Soludo is saying that he's speaking on behalf of the Igbos. He's saying that for the future of the Igbos, for the destiny of the Igbos, that it's important that according to Soludo, what Obi is doing is mortgaging the future of the Igbos, as it were, and that because, according to Soludo,
yes,
Obi
right,
cannot win, so it would be better if the Igbos align with any of the other bigger parties. So I'd like you to speak to that.
So at what point, is it as Anambra State Governor, or as the leader of Ohaneze Ndigbo, or where is he speaking from? Speaking on behalf of the Igbos. That is the first thing we should look at. I think there is ulterior motive in the whole of this. If you are speaking on, why speaking on as the Anambra State Governor? Why speaking on behalf of the Igbos? He is entitled to an opinion. And I think that every other person will respect his opinion if he's speaking for himself. But speaking on behalf of the Igbos, from what standpoint? Speaking on behalf of the Igbos. And let me let us throw light on mortgaging Obi as mortgaging the destiny of the Igbo. And I think that is just far from the truth, maybe trying to mislead the people. Showing of force, there's nothing absolutely, who discredits a man from maybe since 1999. I think the last major attempt was the former Vice President Alex Ekwemi. The attempt in 1999 to pick, that was late 1998, to pick the PDP ticket before former President Obasanjo eventually won that ticket. But come to think of it, this is the first time a real attempt is being made. If you've been following Obi's antecedents, Soludo should allow Obi to run his full course, the campaign, everything. Then he should leave it. Obi cannot win. It should be his opinion first. If you look at the caliber of people that are turning out at his events, that is unsolicited for, because I follow that of Edo State, where he was supposed to move from a particular point to the other, and crowd did not allow him. That is not, we are not saying whether he's going to win.
So part of the claim is that Peter Obi is not necessarily the man that he is portrayed to be. Charles Soludo is saying something along the lines of, I mean, all that is being said about Peter Obi is more like a propaganda.
That's right. That is what we are saying.
It's not, and
he should not say he's speaking on behalf of the evil. If you are launching a campaign against Obi, that don't vote for him, don't trust, that is okay. But claiming that you are speaking on behalf of the Igbos, from what standpoint? So he is entitled to this opinion.
All right.
Don't forget.
But aside from him, okay, he's entitled to his opinion. But I would just like to ask, this is the first governor from the southeast that is speaking on this issue openly. But aside him, all the other governors in the southeast, I don't see them drumming support for one of their own. Why is that so?
See, governors should not, see, there's election going on. I say going on because it's not concluded yet in the United States. And that is where we borrowed this presidential system we are running from. Let me say this. Governors are also struggling. If you follow what is going on in the U.S., governors are also struggling to retain their seats. Those that want to dislodge are also struggling. So why are we talking of governors speaking for the destinies of a people? A governor is in the office at the instance of the people. So it's the people that should determine their destinies, not the governor, not some political leaders, because their interest is already mortgaged, given that they belong to different political parties. So the summary here is that we should begin to look at political conversation from the standpoint of the people, whose interest, who elected the people we're expecting to speak, and that maybe their opinion will count and all that. Obi is a presidential candidate. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is also in the race as a presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. The same thing with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He's also in the race. So let us assume that the people of Nigeria will elect.
All right. So at the end of his letter, the governor of Anambra State said he made some recommendations for the Igbo nation, and one of them, the last one, he says that that the Igbo should strategize and bargain, especially with the two candidates likely to be president on at least 4 central issues. And he outlined them to be, one of them is the lasting peace and security in the Southeast. He talks about Southeast economic transformation agenda, and also restructuring agenda for Nigeria that devolves powers and resources, and also leveling the playing field for unleashing of the private sector and the full participation of Igbo in the economic, in the economy of the country. So he is talking about 2 major candidates that are likely, and we all know the 2 that he is talking about.
Yes.
Abga is not one of the the people that he's recommending. And he is a member of ABGA, and ABGA has a presidential candidate.
I think ABGA has become a kind of, ABGA is there in all fairness, to sustain the memory of Dim Odumegwu Ojukwu, and that is what they have been using. And so far, they have been sustaining his legacy. That means holding on to that state. So let's get it clear. And it is, we should be factual here that they cannot use an ABGA presidential candidate cannot go beyond that state, even within
So does
Anambra
it then
state.
mean that this
He
meant
is drumming support for Atiku Abubakar or
so
Asiwaju
does it
Ahmed
then
Bola
mean
Tinubu.
that a party like ABGA is more of a regional party?
It is
more
like
of
the
an ethnic
AD, like
party?
the AD of that started in 1999, and the 1999 election, of course, the whole of the Southwest states.
But that's not in line with the spirit of the framers of the electoral law that, that seem to suggest that, political parties should not be seen to be regionally or sectionally inclined.
As at the time the party was registered, there's not, we from the beginning we had the PDP, APP, and AD. Now it was a case instituted in the court by late Gani Fawemi, the human rights activist, that law was struck down by INEC. That the moment there's threshold that a group must meet to be registered as a party, and of course they were able to meet the requirements and they were registered. And as at the time INEC came up with another set of rules that you must have won or you must have an elected person in office, just like they have in Anambra. And each time, since apart from the 2 weeks, this person held, Senator Andy Uba, it has always been ABGA. So that is to say that ABGA meets INEC requirements to exist as a political party. But if you recall, most of the parties that were in existence then, most of them were actually deregistered and all that.
Okay. The Igbos or the people from the Southeast have been saying that they haven't had an opportunity, they haven't had a shot at the presidency. Right. Now, at this point, there's someone from that region. Isn't it, some persons are saying it's a bit too early for Soludo to be telling them to start bargaining, to start, looking at other people, considering that this is a region that I've always said, we haven't, nobody from this region has been president. Some people are saying that at this point, what they should be looking at is how to actually become president.
Line up. See, whether we like it or not, there is Vice President Atiku Abubakar and Asiwaju Bola Tinubu are coming from region where consensus is a bit easier. For the Southeast, I don't know about their power of consensus, and that is where the whole of this hula baloo is coming from. If we're thinking of maybe trying to produce a presidential candidate even before maybe you reach out to the rest of Nigeria, and I think that is the first best attempt since 1998 after former Vice President Alex Ekweme tried unsuccessfully to pick a PDP's ticket. Now, we can't, that is like a daydream, it's not going to happen, because technically the Igbos has taken over, they have crossed over their business acumen to politics. And when that happens, it is very difficult to arrive at a consensus, because there should be a break. There should be separation between business acumen and political acumen. That is where that is the missing link if you go to the Southeast.
Right. Now, before we move on from the political issue, there is also another story here about Abdulsalami Committee telling presidential candidates to caution their spokesmen. Of course, this is as a result of the violence that we've seen in some states. This is raising some concern. We understand that the IGP is also going to be meeting with some of the politicians today. So it appears that we have seen rhetorics, we have seen certain narratives, and even moving away from the rhetorics, we've seen attacks, physical attacks.
That's right.
On opponents and all of that. What does that say about the coming elections in 2020?
Bad omen. it portends bad omen because even we are expecting that the presidential candidates and their running mate should conduct themselves. What Nigeria needs now, Nigerians are traumatized. Forget the language or whatever we claim to. Nigerians are traumatized. And most people are saying that the 2023 election is going to be a make or mar for this country. They should tell us what they can do, what they have done before, and how they intend to tackle.
But can we really move away from these attacks, like attacks on personalities, attacks on individuals, like, and stay on the issues? Is
like
it possible?
we talk about bottled water seller, those. See, even in the First Republic, the Second Republic, even the aborted Third Republic that is close to us, and in the Fourth Republic, we have never really had politicians go down so low to call people names and go down to some things that has no bearing with Nigeria.
Is this born out of lack of ideas?
See, there's nothing to tell us. Where people we have the options we have before us, people don't actually have what to say. Like I said, I kept using this U.S. example in most places that if you listen to the debate, your heart will bleed for what we have here. Nobody attacks, even frequent, slip of tongues and all that. They apologize immediately. Then you pay for it. Electorally, you pay for it because the people will take note of the fact that you are not the leader they want. This is not what they expect. What they expect to hear is simply, this is what I've done before. And if you give me this opportunity, I can do more. And for so and so problem, this is how we're going to tackle it. Before the problem degenerated to this point, this was what went wrong. And this is what we intend to fix.
But do you think that the electorate is adding to this? Because when these people attack each other, you see the electorate taking sides or even regurgitating some of the things that have been said. If the electorate insists, no, this is not what we're looking for, want you to speak to ideas, do you think that will change the situation?
The sole point of our political development is simple. At some point, politicians deliberately, let me, so to speak, the political empowerment of the First Republic. If you know, at that time, we have records to show that people go to political party offices to pay their dues. Party leaders funded political activities from what the dues that the members, you are registered and you are recognized as a member of a political party, you pay your dues, and party is serviced from those dues. Now, today, there is just nothing like that. People just jump on anything they see, and they have disempowered Nigerians from actually having alignment with a political party. Stay there, build it, try to see that before a candidate emerges, or maybe a presidential candidate or a candidate for governorship, there's a clear-cut idea. But now there's nothing like that. They just play on people's emotion, and just like what we are seeing now, they are boxing us from one corner to another corner, and by the time we know it, we are in February and we're talking of election.
Okay, now let's talk about the Naira redesign, moving away from politics now. The lead story on the Daily Trust talks about grains prices crash days after record surge. We have riders that says rush for grains subsides in major markets. Dollar bounces, sells at 770 Naira, and then you have forex volatility may reduce investment rise, inflation experts. So these one of the stories that, one of the effects of the Naira redesign apparently is causing turmoil in the entire economy. Banks are recording the highest. Banks are recording high deposits. In banks now and all that. What do you make of this grain issue?
Yes, first to commend the Daily Trust for community journalism. I think they have taken the lead in going beyond just some official reportage to tying policies to what affects ordinary people on the streets. And that is what is, I think that is the hallmark of journalism. That is what it should be. Now, the price, there's no policy that will not stir up some kind of, but eventually it will come down. And that is what we are witnessing. At least the Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians, are beginning to know that some people have actually stored money for currency of about 10 years ago, of about 15 years ago. Is still
even
in the
20. I've seen that of 2002.
That's right. In some people's what do you call it, underground save or sockeway or something, as it has become popular on this part of the world. So the policy is very good, irrespective of the boomerang effect and all that. But let's stay with it. Let's run this full course. And with, I think about last week, we were doing like over 900 naira to a dollar, and today it has reduced to, according to that report.
Yeah, it reduced.
But it reduced last week and then it's bouncing back. That's the problem.
It will stay more. You see, this currency, they still have it there. Some are contemplating whether to push them out, and they will still continue to push them out depending on how well. And that is the point that we should prevail on EFCC to live up to why they are there.
So you think that Nigerians should support the government?
They should support the government on this.
To this.
We should redesign it. So those that have stockpiled money for 2023, at least they will have to, before going through the hassles of changing the currency, attracting the new notes. We're already in February, so that we can have some decent election, because during the last, especially presidential primaries, we saw what happened. Despite the dollar reign, there was also naira. As if naira has been reduced to some kind of thing that is sad. So this one is a very targeted government policy, and I think Nigerians should support it, so that we get this done. But the rise in prices of things and our currency, let us stay with it. We are ready to bear with it, as long as in the end it will cut off some certain class of people.
Okay. All right, thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak and giving your perspectives. We look forward to having you again on the program.